toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That's the sound of a party.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Nice to be back after a little break. We are on show number 296.
It's halfway to 333.
It is, and we're excited because at 333, we're doing our big anniversary celebration.
Yes.
So that's going to be a really fun and really exciting program, and it's going to be really long, and I can't wait for it. So I wonder if anyone actually made it through watching all 4 hours of our 100th anniversary celebration show. I doubt it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never
That's a
watched the
long
entire
time.
thing.
Yeah. I watched part of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. When this guy started talking about the proper ways to clean out beverage lines, that's when I checked out.
Yeah,
They lost me. Thankfully,
Jeremiah and Mark were like on and on about that.
Wasn't until late in the program. So, well, welcome to our show today. We're going to talk about a couple of really exciting things, or maybe not. Our topic for today: has drinking lost its cool? A new article suggests that drinking is no longer cool.
What?
Yeah. I didn't know it was cool, but apparently it was, and now it's not. So,
I don't believe this article. First off, I was never asked about this subject.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you'll be asked about it today. So.
And if I feel like if they didn't ask me if
Right.
drinking was lost its cool, then they have no street cred.
They have no street cred at all. Well, you'll have a chance to weigh in on this. I can promise you that, because we'll be talking about that today. Plus, I got back from a Labor Day trip to Washington, D.C.
how was
to
that?
see Adam in the Cloud and his lovely wife, Brianna.
You
And
went
it
to the
was-
Cloud?
Yes, I went to the Cloud. It was kind of like I made the journey, the sojourn to the Cloud. And we actually had a lot of fun. Adam and I got to visit Other Half Brewery in
Nice.
Washington, D.C., and we've had some of their beers on the show
Yeah.
before. So we did a segment there, and we'll play that back for you
can't
on
wait to
today's
see it.
show. So we're looking forward to that. And, of course, we'll be talking about cigars to watch for. There's some pretty cool new stuff coming out. We'll be drinking, even though it's apparently not cool anymore. We'll be drinking some interesting
It's cool
things.
as long as I say it's cool.
All right. Well, I think you're going to think this Saloon Door Brewing Texas lager beer is cool. It's called Kemah Suprema.
I haven't had that one. I've been to Saloon Door. It's a cool little place.
And it's a pretty cool name, too, Kemah Suprema.
Kemah Suprema.
I like that. Yeah, so that's cool, at least. They're in Webster, Texas. We'll be trying that Texas lager. And then Brewdog Brewing, which we both are big fans of. Brewdog, they're the guys that do the Elvis juice, right?
Yes.
Which we both are big fans of.
Fantastic.
Well, they have a new hazy IPA that comes from their brewery in Ellon, Scotland, called Fellowship, and it is all Lord of the Rings themed.
Nice.
So I don't know if you're watching the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon. I watched the first episode
As a
of it.
person who's read the series many times, The Hobbit many
Yeah,
times, The Silmarillion a couple times,
Yeah.
because that's a bit of a dry read.
Yeah, woo, baby.
I watched the first episode and I fell asleep about 2/3 through.
So it's interesting because Keegan and I were talking about that before the show, and that was what he said, too.
I mean, it got to a point of boredom that I was just like,
It was
okay,
It was
that's
definitely
enough of
beautiful,
this.
but the action moved very slowly. Now that's only the first episode. That's all I've watched. So, and I am less of a fantasy person than I am a science fiction person.
So
I like spaceships that shoot at each other.
I'm a huge fan
you know?
of Tolkien and
Yeah.
that whole series. The problem I have is what they did to The Hobbit. The Hobbit was such an absolute crap fest.
Talking about the movie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the 3 movies out of the smallest book.
Yeah.
I mean, that book was less than a third the size of any one of the other books.
Yeah, the Lord of the
and
Rings
then they made
trilogy.
3 movies out of it so they could make 3 times the amount of money.
Yeah, well.
They invented entire subplots, turned it into romance, and made total crap out of a children's book.
Yeah, well.
Because The Hobbit was basically a children's book.
So
Absolute crap. So I'm a little skittish when it comes to that now because, like, after that fiasco, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I want to get into it.
I have read that this new series on Amazon is the most expensive streaming series ever produced.
The visuals are
Yeah, the visuals
pretty
are
amazing,
pretty
but-
stunning. Yeah,
But
yeah.
the plot line and everything going on, like at least for the first episode, I fell asleep.
Okay, well, we can show. You gonna try any more? Or are you done?
Maybe.
Okay.
If I need a nap.
Well, we will try the
see.
beer today for sure. It's the Fellowship Hazy IPA from Brewdog Brewing. And then from Lyons, Colorado, and also Austin, Texas. They have breweries in both cities. Oskar Blues. We'll try their TenFidy Imperial Stout. Have you had TenFidy before?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's another one that we'll be doing on the show. Plus, a 7-year oak-aged rum called Starr, Starr, from Mauritius, which is an island off the coast of Africa.
Star with
Star
two R's,
with
like
two R's.
Gang Star.
Like Gang Starr, exactly.
I think I just dated myself. There.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I dated myself a lot in high school. No girls would go out with me. So it was
But
like yeah. And of course, we'll have our most popular segment of the program. We'll be bringing you drinking news as well. Our drinking news teaser headline for today's show. It ain't heavy, it's machinery. Oh, I like that one. That one was fancy. Yeah, it's a fancy kind of show
trill.
today. It's a fancy kind of show today. I like it. So it's been a pretty interesting week. It's been a couple of weeks since we did a show. We took the week off for the holiday, and so it's nice to be back in the studio, be back with you. Next 2 weeks from today, we will be talking with a master distiller of an Irish whiskey. So that's going to be something to look forward to. I know you're a fan of the Irish whiskey. Yeah, so we'll get to that. More details coming up on that, but we're really, really excited about that. And thanks, by the way, to our guest for the last show that we did, who is the bar consultant and mixologist and cigar lover, Roberto Rivas Villar. He was a lot of fun.
He's very enthusiastic.
Yeah, made the awesome margaritas.
That was a crazy good margarita.
Yeah, it really was. So we appreciate him coming on the show and hooking us up. That was a lot of fun. So how was your week, man? It's been 2 weeks.
It's been
You know?
It was good actually.
Yeah.
I had a busy week this last week, but pretty good overall. I got a few cigars in, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Anything you want to tell us about? Anything special?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I'm just joking.
Thanks for coming to the show,
Thanks.
folks. We'll see you next
Good
week.
night. We'll see you later. Goodbye. Click. Phones don't even make that sound anymore.
No,
See,
they
I just
don't.
dated myself again.
There's so many things like that. Like
Like we just
somebody
were
was
so
telling me-
normal that don't exist.
Somebody was telling me this the other day. If you were telling me a story, and in part of the story you were talking about being on the phone, and you made a hand motion to kind of like illustrate it, then you would probably do something like this. So I was on the phone with the guy, and I'm telling him, no, stop, don't do it that way. Do it the way I showed you.
Right.
Only the thing is, we do that because we're old. See, if you talk to someone who is younger and they were telling the same story, they'd be like, so I told him, no, don't do that. You're not going to, or like this, right? Like, because that's how
'Cause that's
they
how you
use
hold
the
the
phone.
phone,
Right.
right.
This is old. This is old school. It's almost like, you ever watching like a show set in the past and they dial the rotary phone?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's so old. Well,
I
guess
remember
what?
the rotary phone.
A phone that
I am
you
so
even
old.
do this for you. Or, yeah, we're all old. It's just the way it is. Anyway.
I remember when you only had to dial 7 numbers.
Yeah.
You know, and had the rotary phone.
Yeah.
You go shh, shh, and you have a low number.
And remember what a big deal it was when you got your first push-button phones? They had those ones that were shaped kind of like a crescent, and the
Right.
buttons were in the middle, and you're like, beep, 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 beep. Yeah, okay. We're both really old. I don't know why we even went down that path.
What is happening to us?
But, okay, old man, do you have anything you smoked that was interesting this
well,
week?
I'm looking on my phone,
Yes, right.
and I'm reading my reviews. Okay, that was a visual. I'm not even going to explain that
Yeah.
for those of you that aren't watching this, but it was funny. Just laugh along.
Trust him, it was funny.
So Man of War.
Oh, very interesting.
Man of War. I believe that Man of War you can only get online. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I've ever seen them in stores.
I've
Are
seen
they in stores?
Diesel in store.
Diesel,
I'm not
yes.
sure. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
That
I
may-
could be wrong on it.
May
I
in
mean,
fact be. Yeah.
I kind of remember only seeing one. They're made by AJ Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Man of War Abomination.
Abomination.
Abomination. Not Abomination. That was a few years back. This was the Abomination. This was the Toro 6x50. The wrapper, San Andreas Maduro wrapper, Habano binder, and Nicaraguan filler. That's about all the information I found on that. Made in AJ Fernandez factory. The appearance, rich dark chocolate in color, oily, smooth, firm overall feel, dark red and black label. You'll see it in the picture right here. It's really actually a pretty intriguing looking cigar because it is dark and
it's menacing looking.
Menacing looking, yes. It's got that helmet on it and everything.
It's a man of war.
It's a man of war, yes. The pre-light sniff on this, earth, leather, coffee, and a little hint of chocolate in the background. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. It had a medium draw on it. Sweet, dark chocolate, leather, spicy on the lips, earth, and a hint of coffee. The initial light on this, Nicaraguan pepper blast, baby. Big.
Not surprised.
Spicy.
Not surprised.
Big spicy smoke happening. Nutty and coffee. Retrohale is peppery and woody with tons of leather. The first third of the cigar, nutty and spicy, underlying sweetness and coffee going on, chocolate and strong cinnamon at the end of the palate. I'm going to go ahead and give you a spoiler. This might be the most cinnamony, spicy cigar I think I've ever had.
So that's interesting because my expectation would be that it would be big and peppery, not necessarily
There is
cinnamon.
a lot of pepper, but there's a lot of that cinnamon, like the hot cinnamon fireball kind of thing.
Like those toothpicks that you used to get when you were a kid? Yeah.
So big cedar and leather linger long after each puff, full strength and spice. Like definitely full strength. This one doesn't start off going, I wonder where I'm at. This is like a full strength.
It declares
punch
itself
right
from
in the gut.
beginning.
Yes.
Yep.
Retrohale is peppery and nutty and cedar with a kiss of coffee. Apparently I wrote 2 retrohales. That pretty much say the same thing. Solid ash, perfect burn.
And how about the other retrohale? How did that go?
Retrohale is cedar and spice and nutty. So there we go.
Okay.
It's interesting. The second third of the cigar, strong pepper and cedar backed by leather and sweet coffee, hints of chocolate, earth, and a nutty undertone followed by leather and cinnamon to create a very complex experience. Big, satisfying smoke billows unceasingly forth from this offering. Retrohale is cinnamon and cedar, solid ash, perfect burn. And when I say solid ash, the first ash lasted the first third of the cigar. And then I tipped it so that I didn't drop it on myself. But it was the kind of like I tapped it on the side of the ashtray a couple times and it didn't budge. So I actually had to put the ash in the bottom and kind of break it off.
Yeah, wow, that is a solid ash.
The second ash that I did was the second third of the cigar. You'll see that in this picture over here. The third ash was pretty much the rest of the cigar. The third of the cigar, the final third of the cigar, pepper backs off slightly, oddly enough, towards the end of the cigar. Dry cedar and leathery notes lead the charge, followed by chocolate and earth, cinnamon, and a sweet nuttiness bring up the rear, along with a lingering spicy aftertaste. Retrohale is cedar and nutty with pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. Nice. So, the price to quality is a little weird on this one.
Okay.
Because this cigar costs $9-ish.
Yeah.
If you buy it online, most of the time, it's a 5-pack for $45, I think. But we got it on Cigar Bid. Me and a buddy of mine bid on some. So on Cigar Bid, we paid $30 for 10 of them.
So that makes them $3 a piece.
It's a $3 cigar.
Okay, price to quality is good.
So I have
pretty good
2
on
price to quality.
Fair enough.
If I paid full pop for this, and I did not, but if I did, I would give this a 5.
Okay,
This is
so
a
you get what you pay
big,
for.
bold, ridiculous cigar. It's a Fernandez blend. It's fantastic. It's smoked great. The burn was good. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with it. At $3 a cigar, this is an 8.
An 8? Wow.
Yes.
That's a big
At
number.
$3 a cigar.
Right,
That's
right.
1/3.
So what you're saying is if you can find
Of the
this on
price.
a cigar auction site or something and pay about that for it,
Yes, make sure
grab
you
grab it.
big full-bodied cigars, though, because if you don't like big full-bodied cigar, you will not be happy. This thing is huge. It is not. It's not gentle, light, or even close to medium. It is full.
It's the real deal.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, interestingly enough, I guess it's AJ week here on the show because I know this has come as a big surprise to you,
right?
But I smoked an AJ Fernandez cigar for my little cigar notes here for the show this week as well. I've reviewed quite a few of AJ's blends, but this is one that for some reason I've never smoked until now. It is the AJ Fernandez New World Puro Especial.
Okay.
And I had the Gordo.
Is that the one with the green label?
No, it's got, so interesting thing, it's got a reddish label.
Okay.
Plus the usual gold and brown of the New World. But it has undergone a rebranding and remarketing change, and so now it uses the fresh ones. The new ones use all these sort of brown, earthy tones and look very much like the other one. Now, mine was one of the red band ones, so it came from an older batch, but that's okay because it's probably aged a little longer. It was a very nice looking cigar, dark chocolate colored wrapper. Smooth and round, unlike most of the other New World smokes, which are box pressed.
Right.
And this one is round. It measured 6 inches long with a 60 ring gauge. That's a little bit fatter than the cigars that I usually smoke, but I gave it a shot. And I mentioned the marketing redesign. The new band is more neutral. It's an earthy-looking brown band. And the box, by the way, the box for these was red, but the new box is brown. Anyway, the tobacco is the same. There's not been a blend change. It's just the
labels,
band and a label change. Yeah, and so that tobacco, by the way, consists of a Nicaraguan Habano wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and Nicaraguan filler tobacco, all grown on AJ's farms. Thus, the Puro Especial. It's a Nicaraguan Puro. I was struck by an almost overwhelming earthiness from the pre-light sniff and draw. I mean, it was just earth. And it made me think that if you're like, just how do I learn to detect, what different notes are and stuff in a cigar, especially before it's lit. This is what you might want to get because this is just so unmistakably earth that it'll okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, once you get it,
you understand that, and then if it shows up in another cigar, maybe not as and not as prevalent, you still might be able to pick it out. But anyway, it is earthy. I'd seen the cigar described as being a little lighter in body than the other cigars in the New World line. But it totally delivered the Nicaraguan pepper blast when I lit it up.
Right off the bat.
And took the first few puffs. Once that settled down, here came that earth and a leather note that really worked well in the overall blend. White pepper and a nutty note were also detectable during the first third. I picked up a kind of a charred wood note and some cocoa powder in the second third, and that earthiness really continued, really throughout the whole cigar. I really enjoyed that charred note. It added a really very nice complexity to the New World Puro Especial. The final third, it didn't change much. Maybe got a little note of coffee bean on the retrohale, but the complexity of the cigar was consistent all the way through, as well as a rich creaminess that kind of established itself right around the halfway point. Construction was spectacular. The burn wasn't razor straight, but very, very close to that. No burn issues of any kind while it smoked, no relights. The ash was solid and held on very nicely. I flicked it off at about 1.5 inches in because I very much liked the shirt I was wearing at the time, and I didn't want to tempt fate too much. But I found the New World Puro Especial to be very much medium to full-bodied. Maybe a touch less full than the standard New World line, but more complex and very consistent throughout. A nice, thick smoke. Smoking time was almost 1.5 hours on the Gordo.
Wow.
So it was a really nice, long smoke. I've already, of course, admitted to being an AJ fanboy, but cigars like this are one of the reasons why for me. I smoked a different brand yesterday. I'm not even going to say what brand it was. It was just a different brand of cigar that comes in at about the same price point as this one. And there's just no comparison between it and the AJ. The AJ is just so much more complex, delivers so much more flavor, and maybe it's just my palate. It could very well be. It's just this is just what works for me.
That guy is just on fire, though.
He really is. He really is.
he's like the rock star of the industry right now.
Yeah, the difference in complexity was completely very, very noticeable. I think that AJ knocks a lot of other cigars in this price range completely out of the park, and he does it with most of his blends, at least as far as my palate goes. So at $9 to $10 a stick, same general price range as where you were. The New World Puro Especial delivers big time. Recommended, thumbs up, P to Q of 6.5. Just a very, very good cigar. And honestly, I might not have rated it that aggressively if I hadn't had another one. The other one was supposed to be a very nice cigar, very boutique, had been given to me by a good friend, and I smoked it on Sunday. And you know what? It's no comparison.
Just no comparison.
Yeah, just no comparison.
For those of you joining us that don't know about our price to quality, it's a 1 to 10 scale. And at 5, you get exactly what you're paying for. If you go below 5, you may be paid a little more for the quality of the
So when you get into around a $10 cigar, to get more than
That's
a 5
premium.
is a really big thing. Now, you mentioned on your cigar that you wound up getting it online for $3, and at $3 you gave it an 8. That's how good of a deal that was.
Yeah,
based on
and
what
it
you
was
got.
a good cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same thing if you have a $10 cigar and you give it an 8.
Right.
That literally means I would pay $25 for this and never bat an eye.
Right.
Or something like that. But I mean, like, when you get a deal on some cigars, like the cigar bid things, sometimes you find some great deals on that. I will tell you, you always got to, if you do on those cigar bid things, if you do get some cigars off of there, and a lot of times when you get them online, it's good to let them sit in your humidor a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Just because you get cigars that sometimes are over humidified or under humidified, and you let it sit in your humidor for just a couple weeks, it'll generally level out.
Cool. Well, a couple of good cigars today and a couple of AJs. So there you go. AJ figuring in big once again.
AJ, you now win the honor of sponsoring one of our shows.
That's right. We'll send you the paperwork.
That's right.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, going to take a little visit to Other Half Brewing in Washington, D.C. Adam in the Cloud and I went
Did you
this
bring
week.
an other half for us to try?
I know, but I have some beers on the way, my friend. So I'll tell you about them coming up. It is Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 296. We'll be talking about whether or not drinking has lost its cool. That has been suggested by someone, but they didn't talk to Ian, so, the jury's really still out on this. So, we'll get to that, I promise.
What kind of credibility do you have then?
Yeah, exactly. Got some cigars for you to watch for. EP Carrillo goes green with one of their new releases, so we'll tell you about that coming up. But right now, we want to bring to you a special segment that was recorded last week in Washington, D.C. With Adam in the Cloud and myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cruze. Cruze, take it away.
Thanks, Cruze. And by the way, you should totally take over the show and just dump that other guy. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are live in Washington, D.C., as a matter of fact. And it's a rare Smoking and Toasting appearance by our producer, Adam in the Cloud. Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
And cheers to you.
Cheers.
We're at Other Half Brewery. We've had some of their beers on the show before. This is my first time to visit. Have you been here before, Adam?
First time.
All right, so this is pretty exciting. We've had their sort of flagship IPA on the show before, but today Adam's tasting the Pils, and I'm tasting one of their slightly off-menu, not really off-menu, but they're really one of their very different, creative IPAs. So let's start with the Poetry Snaps. This is what you...
this is apparently one of their flagships. They said this one and one of their IPAs. They have a whole bunch of IPAs, so I wasn't in the mood for IPAs, so I went ahead and got the Pilsner, and it's extremely delicious. Round, smooth, clean, refreshing finish. It's very
pretty
good.
crisp. I think it was about 4.5% ABV.
Yeah, it's got a ton of flavor, easy drinking. So this is great for a nice sunny day like today. So, yeah.
So mine is not the flagship IPA. This is the green. Now I'm forgetting there were so many IPAs. I was looking up there. I was like a kid in a candy store. But it's the Green Dragon, I think. And they use some very interesting and different hops. And one of the great things about Other Half here is on their menu board, it tells you right on the menu what hops they use on each one. And so this one has that sort of experimental IPA flavor to it. It is a little bit pine coney, but there's a nice hazy balance to it as well. So it really, while it leaves you a little bit of that taste, it's not overwhelming, and it doesn't make you feel like you need to like pick the pine cone needles out of your teeth when you're done. I like it because it manages to be refreshing and pretty dank at the same time, which is not always something you find both of those in one beer, especially an IPA. Usually it's either one or the other. But I'm getting real citrus and pine notes on this, and it feels like sort of grapefruit. But you know that smell that those bushes give off that your grandmother used to have lining her sidewalk at her house, that were like, they just had that real, not juniper, but that real sort of like sage sort of pine sort of smell. A little bit of that, of that vibe to this as well. Sure. And it's actually very pleasant. I don't think this would be Ian's favorite IPA, but I do think he would appreciate the balance.
Okay, yeah.
If you're going to lean towards the pine coney side.
Yeah, so this definitely isn't a place for Ian.
No, definitely. This is an IPA lover's place, and so I'm thrilled to be here and plan to work my way through as much of the menu as I can. Here. But Other Half Brewing made a pretty good name for themselves across the country, primarily with IPAs, and I can definitely see why.
Yeah, and they had it from all around the world. They had West Coast IPA, they had the East Coast IPA. They're doing it all, so it's really cool.
Doing hazies, doing.
Yeah, if they're going to do it all.
They have a sour IPA on the menu, and what looked like a really interesting smoothie sour too, based on the ingredients. So, so nice, full, fleshed out menu. Some merch if you become a fan after drinking the beers, and a great little tap room. In fact, that looks like an old boxcar that's been converted into part of the tap room.
Yeah, we're under this huge deck right now. You can tell they really took their time to build a quality deck out here. Got good wood tables and everything. So
So we encourage you to visit Other Half. In fact, at this point in the DC area, you can come visit different brewery every day. You can be here for months. So that sounds like a plan to me. So recording live for Smoking and Toasting. Adam? Cheers.
All right, that was great fun. It was fun to drink with Adam again. It had been a little while, since
Adam's getting kind of good at this.
He is kind of good at this too. Yeah, don't you think? Yeah.
It does, however, make me want to drink beer.
Well, I think you should drink beer. I still think drinking's cool. So, by the way, what we're talking about beer and breweries, I got to give huge props to one of our favorite locals here in the greater Houston area, Eureka Heights, because they are jumping in to help save or help mitigate Houston's big stray animal crisis. And I've always had a soft spot for anybody who does charitable things that benefit animals, or the SPCA. Eureka Heights Brewery is unveiling their newest craft beer, My Own Best Friend. They did this at a launch party last Saturday, and all Saturday proceeds there were donated to the Houston Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, which is the SPCA, a leading animal welfare organization and shelter here in Houston. After Saturday, the Houston SPCA will receive $1 for every pint and $1 for every 6-pack sold. So,
nice.
So he's with the beer. So that's congratulations to Eureka Heights, and off we go. So good stuff. I'm going to have to go try some of that beer. In the meantime, though, we're trying beer here from another brewery that is close to us geographically. They're in Webster, Texas. It is the brewery called Saloon. And you said you've been there.
So if you were to drive basically from your house, which is right downtown,
right,
to this brewery, and there was no traffic on the road, which is a Houston impossibility.
Right.
But, I mean, let's pretend that there's no traffic. It would take you about 20 to 25 minutes to get there.
So it's not that far away.
Understanding that the rest of the country doesn't understand the distances that we deal with here in Houston, that's right next door, basically.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, you can drive for an hour and still be in Houston.
Yes,
that's true.
No joke.
Yeah.
So the brewery, Saloon Brewing, is right off NASA Road 1, right at the intersection, basically where NASA Road 1 hits I-45. So if you're ever heading down to Galveston, you're driving down 45, because I'm not sure I guess what other direction would you come from?
You have to be that, yes.
But, stop there and have a beer. It's a cool little place in a little industrial park. This is the Kemah Suprema. If you were to drive from Saloon Door to Kemah, it will take you about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's close by.
Kemah is a cool little area.
Yeah, they've got the boardwalk there. They've got some
They
nice
got rides. They got
oceanfront
entertainment,
stuff. Yeah.
music, all kinds of stuff. They're
Yeah.
having a beer festival coming up. Did they do that already, or was it coming up this next week?
I think it's coming up soon.
Yeah, it's coming up
Show
soon.
that can though. It's got
This
really
can
great
is called the
artwork on it.
neon kind of the neon kind of face on this.
And this is a lager.
Incredibly
They
cool.
call it a Texas lager, which now when you say Texas lager, I immediately think Lone Star. I don't know why. That's just what I think of. You know, it's like if you're going to describe it as being a Texas lager, then Lone Star is the first thing I think of. So I've not had this, so we'll see how it stacks up.
Oh, come on. This is so good.
It really is.
Like,
and it is.
I love the malt forwardness of this immediately.
It is a little bit Lone Star-ish, but way more flavor.
I love the malt forwardness. I love the. When I think Texas lager, I think Lone Star is a good example because it is generally it's a lighter flavored beer overall, but it's generally a little more malt forward and not real hoppy on the tail end. So I think when you get Texas lager, you don't get a lot of hop on the back end.
This is super crisp on the finish.
The Tex
yeah.
from Eighth Wonder is also like that. It's not real hoppy on the back
agree.
end. It's real malt forward. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. This is not only thirst quenching, but it's very, very flavorful up front. Like you said, the malt on the front is really, really forward, and it totally works. I like
Texas
this.
lager, not to be confused with Texas Liger. That is actually
That's a
different
completely
brewery.
different thing. Yes, no, but this has got really great. It also tastes a lot like beer.
Says
You know
the
what I mean when I
tastiest
say that?
draw in the West
Yeah,
at 4.7% alcohol, so crushable.
but you
And
understand? You
Oh,
understand?
I see what's happening. You got the Kemah Boardwalk on this.
Yeah.
So that's where you get. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Do you understand what I mean though when I say it tastes like beer?
Yeah, it's a very
got
classic.
It's a very beer flavored beer, you know.
flavored beer. Yes, agreed.
But highly enjoyable. That's one to grab a 6-pack of for sure.
I'll be buying this. Like this is going to go into my my stable of beers that I buy, like Tex, like like Scout, and a few of others
You
like
know,
that. They're just so nice and crushable and easy to drink.
We talked about this, a year and a half ago, that we were going to be going through a real Pilsner and lager revolution in the craft brewing industry. And I would say that since that time, in the year and a half or so that's gone by, we have tried some really outstanding beers of these styles. I mean, the craft breweries have really worked on
non-alcoholic one that you brought in.
Yes,
not too
remember
long
that?
ago
That was from
still quite
Untitled Art.
tasty.
It was really quite good. So there's so much great work going on at craft breweries. And remember, lagers and pilsners are more difficult to brew. They take longer and they're more difficult to brew than ales. And I'm a big fan of ales, but wow.
Yeah, but it's with a lager. First off, the term lager means to store. It takes longer to turn that beer around, so it costs them more to make the beer because they don't get to turn it around as fast.
And yet it's often thought of as a more common beer style rather than
Because the biggest the macro brews always have a lager,
right, and it's always their kind of flagship brand is almost always a lager. But yeah, it's I'm telling you though, this is a really good beer, a really good.
There's
beer.
we need to get around to the lager beer from Equal Parts. They have one called Lager Beer.
Lager beer,
And it is so good.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's like this. Like there's so many good ones out there right now.
All right, we got some good things to try. Still to come on this program, as a matter of fact, we're going to try the Foundation Hazy IPA from Brewdog, and then of course the TenFidy Imperial Stout
TenFidy.
from Oskar Blues.
That's pretty classic.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. So all of that to come. Plus, we'll be tasting some rum. Drinking News is on the way.
Nice
and
rhyme.
we will and we will also be talking to you about why alcohol is no longer cool, according to some.
I can't get on board with that.
Be right back.
I don't
It's
understand
Smoking
you.
and Toasting.
What is happening here?
Welcome back. It is Smoking and toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 296.
Halfway to 333.
And we've talked about this in the past couple of shows, but you are listening to and watching a program right now that is in the top 4% of all podcasts in the world.
I need one of those little like popper things, you know.
Yeah. We need, maybe you could do us a top 4% song. That'd be pretty cool, right?
We're in the top 4.
Why are there so many podcasts that go away? We're in the
I feel like I'm getting
4%.
Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah, it is
you actually
very-
have a little bit of
yeah,
a Kermit the Frog voice going on there.
Thank you. I was kind of half trying. So, all right, we're gonna taste a little Brewdog Hazy IPA while Ian pours that. Let me tell you about some cigars to watch for now that are headed to retailers or already just arriving at retailers.
I feel like
really
you didn't say that with the best possible way. The cigars to watch for.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. I'm really excited about this one, I have to say.
Need a little bit of that clickbaitiness, right?
Maybe. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm excited about this one, so I really should clickbait. I really should pump this one up. Dominican cigar maker Quesada Cigars has a pair of new releases that have just begun shipping to retailers. The seasonal Oktoberfest 2022 edition and the Casa Magna Connecticut. The Oktoberfest cigar is blended to be paired with the kind of malty, hoppy beers that they pour at Germany's famed festival. Oktoberfest 2022 comes in 3 sizes. The hefty Uber, which is not about ride sharing.
I love that one, actually. It looks like a club.
Yeah, it's 6 by 65. It's huge, yeah. The 6 by 52 Torpedo called Das Boot and Bavarian at 5.5 by 52. Oktoberfest is made with all Dominican tobacco except for the wrapper, which is Mexican San Andreas. And a total of 800 boxes of each size will be produced for the U.S. market, each containing 10 cigars. So it's not a lot of cigars, which is why these become rare and more difficult to find over time. So I'm a big fan of these. In fact, before I became an H.A. Fernandez fanboy, I would have told you Oktoberfest was probably one of my absolute favorite cigars, especially the 2016.
That 2016 was the bomb. That was the year before they changed to the white label.
Right. And now, where the cover leaf for Oktoberfest is dark, the second release from Quesada, which is the Casa Magna Connecticut, features a much lighter wrapper. It's a Connecticut seed leaf grown in Ecuador, intended to be the mildest of the Casa Magna series. It is still a medium-bodied cigar and still made with Nicaraguan binders and fillers. 3 sizes for that cigar as well, and both Casa Magna Connecticut and Oktoberfest are produced at Quesada's factory in the Dominican Republic. Now, here is a great example of not the best timing, right? Boutique brand owner Robert Caldwell is releasing a new line of cigars called, and I'm not kidding, Long Live the Queen.
Oh. Well,
it's still a thing, right?
Yeah. So, like, in retro, Long Live the Queen.
Yes. It's just the timing was just couldn't have been. Could have been much worse. Anyway, it's a regular production line of smokes that he says has been aging for the better part of a year after rolling, and he expects them to begin shipping in October. They're made in the Dominican Republic. Long Live the Queen is rolled at the El Maestro factory, a smaller factory owned by William Ventura. It is a 4-country blend with a Cameroon cover leaf, a Sumatra binder grown in Indonesia, and a mix of Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers. So you might be on the lookout for those. And Plasencia Cigars, a world-leading premium tobacco grower established in 1865, has announced that the Plasencia Almafuerte Colorado Claro Eduardo is now shipping to retailers. It is available in a Toro box press, 6.25 by 54, and the Vitola named Eduardo is in dedication to the very first generation of the Plasencia tobacco family. So apparently Eduardo goes back to Eduardo Plasencia, who took a major risk by crossing the Atlantic Ocean to start farming tobacco in a faraway land. According to Nestor Plasencia, without Eduardo, there would be no Plasencia tobacco family. So the Almafuerte has always been a great line.
Almafuertes are fantastic.
Great line of cigars.
Almafuego is also quite good.
So I'm excited about this. Comes in a 10-count box, and the MSRP on this cigar is $20.60.
Doesn't surprise me, man.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the Almafuerte is $20.
Yeah.
18.
So this is right in there with it.
18.22, and I'll pay it.
It's worth it.
They're
Yeah.
so good. And if you find the octagon one,
Yeah.
the weird octagon press.
I know. It's
So
very cool.
if anyone out there doesn't know much about cigars, a box press is your cigar generally being pressed into the shape of a box. Sometimes
like
it's-
a rectangle
most of the time
or
it's a
square. Yeah.
rectangular box.
Right.
Instead of being round and cylindrical, it's more box shaped to the end.
Yep.
But the octagon is pressed into 8 sides. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Fantastic cigars, all of them. So I'm looking forward to that Plasencia.
I'm looking forward to drinking this beer. I just
you
took
were
in
late
the
to the
nose
party,
of
sir.
this, and I'm loving this.
Fashionably
This is
late
like,
though, because
This
you're
is like a citrus orange juice
So-
on the nose, big time.
I don't know if you know this about Brewdog, but Brewdog makes badass IPAs. Brewdog is kind of like, especially since one of my favoriteest IPA companies has sold out.
Stone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sold out. I think that these guys are the new champion of the IPA in my eye, because we've had, like, think about Elvis Juice. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a big fan of the IPAs overall. Like, I like them enough.
But it's not your favorite style, though.
It's just not my favorite style.
Yeah.
If you
For
put
me, I'm an IPA guy, so I want to try every IPA in the world.
right, so for me, I will try everything else that a brewery has, which is usually 1 or 2 things, and then I go to IPAs after that.
But dude, this is really
really
good.
solid.
Yeah.
It's 5% straight up. It's I don't know that it tastes completely Elven, but
Well, yeah.
but it does.
I kept calling this Foundation, but it's actually Fellowship. It's
It's
the
Fellowship. So
is the name
but
of
I
this.
mean, here's the thing. I feel like this would be, if this was Elven at all, it'd be the Western Elves, because I feel like they would be more like the brighter, hoppier
the brighter, hoppier
style.
elves. Yeah.
You know,
Wouldn't it be great if there were elves?
because the Mirkwood elves
instead
are a
of-
little more serious. You know what I mean? I feel like they'd be a little more about like an ale or
But wouldn't it be great if they actually had elves that were like, instead of pointed ears, they had hops for ears, and you could like harvest the hops and make beer with them? That'd be awesome.
There you go. You missed your calling. You need to be an artist.
No, I've never done drugs. Look
Look what I got here for you, buddy.
That's a good beer.
It's
so
real
it does
good.
say Lord of the Rings right there on
Yeah,
the
oh,
can.
yeah.
So there's no way they
And
could
it's
have
got
used
the
that without it
inscription
having.
inside the one ring
So
in Old Elven.
I'm digging it. Now I'm an IPA guy, but I'm digging this. This
Is fantastic. It's got a little bit of a pineapple to it as well.
it's orange juice on the nose and pineapple in the finish.
It's really interesting. It doesn't say much about the beer itself, other than 5% hazy IPA.
It's really. It should just say that it's delicious, because that's what it is.
We need to start our own brewery. Just call it Beer Delicious.
Yeah, beer good.
Beer good.
That could be.
and then when we barrel age that beer, it'll be called Beer Better.
Yeah, and then when you
Or
put
gooder.
out or even
Beer
more
gooder.
good,
More gooder.
gooderer. I like that. We have a plan. We have a marketing plan now. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back. When we return, we're going to talk about it finally. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been proclaimed that drinking has lost its cool. I'm feeling pretty cool right now drinking, so we'll see if we can challenge that coming up.
All right.
Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back into Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on show number 296, and today we want to talk about the fact that drinking just ain't as cool as it used to be, according to, and it's a pretty reliable website. I don't know if you're familiar with Vice, but they
saying drinking has gone the way of the old gray mare?
Well, apparently so. So if you're over the age of 25, the article says, you probably remember the very catchy and silly opening lines of the song Tick Tock by Kesha, which said basically, grab my glasses, out the door, gonna hit this city, but before I leave, brush my teeth with a bottle of Jack, because when I leave for the night, I ain't coming back. And then, there were plenty of other songs in that era about, doing a lot of drinking. In fact, Rihanna rounded out that decade by releasing Cheers, I'll Drink to That. It was 2010, right? So over 10 years have passed since then. And if you look around you, according to this article, booze has all but dried up. According to a 2022 survey from DrinkAware, 26% of 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK are now and I'm using their word in quotes here, fully teetotal, end quote. In August, a report from Cam and Lucky Saint found that almost a third of all pub visits are now alcohol-free. I have a hard time believing that, but this is what they're reporting. They say also it isn't a new or sudden shift. The non-alcoholic beverages market has grown by over 506% since 2015, and Google searches for sober curious peaked in 2021 following the pandemic. Stories about Gen Z and even millennials becoming sick of drinking have barely left the news cycle.
He said sick of drinking.
We could sit and spend hours theorizing, they say, about why people, including younger people in the UK, aren't mainlining booze like they used to. Most likely because they're overworked and underpaid. They don't have time for hangovers. But once you notice it, they say, it's inescapable. So I want to talk. Has drinking really lost its cool? Now, I thought when we got into this article, it was going to posit that drinking had lost its cool because smoking cannabis has become so cool since it's become legal in so many states and so many countries. And I will tell you, as somebody who's been very recently into a store in a place where it's legal, I mean, they do make it out to be pretty cool. I mean, if you go to MedMen in Los Angeles, it's like the Apple Store of weed. Right. I mean, it really is. Like it's amazing how they've got it all set up and how they describe what the different strains are like and what they, what kind of a sensation they induce and all of that. It's much like going to a really cool brewery like Other Half that we went to, where they've got everything up on the board and they're talking about what hops they use and all that kind of stuff. But I was wondering if that was what this is all about. The article seems to imply that more people just aren't drinking at all. And
I think there's a health conscious movement going on, and I think that's a good thing actually. But but it sounds to me a little exaggerated. Like you can take anything and make it a news story, and studies show. And I mean, studies show you should drink a lot of water. Studies also show that too much water will kill you. And so it really kind of and that's a blatantly obvious way of putting it. But the truth is, you look at the right study, it says the thing that you want it to say.
Right.
I mean, look around you. Are you seeing less and less people drinking? I see people who are in a health movement a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But then again, those same people a lot of times are drinking kombucha, which can have alcohol in it.
Yes, can. Well, it's just interesting to me because it's always kind of been true that each generation does not want to do the same drugs their parents did. And drinking was really kind of a big thing for the generation that we're in, and maybe the generation just beneath us. So maybe this is, Gen Z kind of saying we want to chart our own path.
Maybe.
I don't know. It could be.
I don't put a lot of stock in that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all UK too, and you can have regional trends too.
Well, that's
so
true.
It could be a UK specific thing,
Right. And although the UK trend-wise is often ahead of the United States when it comes to trendy things, at least. So I don't know. Very interesting. I really think that some of it has to do with cost. When when we first started this show, I could get a bottle of my second favorite tequila for $32.
Yeah.
That bottle is almost $100 now,
crazy.
And that's nuts, right? So and so many things have gone up in that same way, and even beer.
You can still get Isle of Fiji rum for under $30.
Yeah, and it's really, really
so
good.
I had some the other night.
Really good. Speaking of rum, we have a rum to try in this segment, and it's what's sitting here in this very interesting triangular shaped bottle.
I'm given to notice that you have actually gone through the pains of removing any potential finger slicing or abrading plastic from the top.
Yeah, I figured it was very important with this bottle, given its unusual shape, that it might be able to cause a lot of finger harm if we didn't clear it. And I also cleared the neck too, because you wouldn't want to spill out of that bottle, because that's a lot.
No, I mean, it's not that it's perfectly shaped for pouring exactly like this. Without it's perfectly shaped for pouring a little heavy. I'm gonna give that one to you.
One has to be careful.
I know where you're going with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, yeah, I look, this is just me. It's part of the research I do before the show every week. I always get, I always figure out drinking news. I always figure out, topics that we can talk about, and I always try to clear the plastic if I can.
You're a man of quality control.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'd put it.
That's
That's exactly how I'd put it. So hopefully we're controlling some good quality here today.
So I'm doing the pouring here, and you're doing the talking,
I
but
did
you've
some
already
spilling,
tried
too.
this, so this is.
I have, but I'm really curious to see what you think of this.
It smells really good. Like I can smell it when I open it. There's a little bit of a. There's that.
So it's aged 7 years in oak barrels. 7 years for rum is actually a very long time.
There's that little bit of like that cane sugar, that raw cane sugar flavor, which is so nice to smell.
And you can pick up some of the maple too on the nose.
There's definitely that oaky astringency in there.
Yep.
Vanilla too. There's a little vanilla kind of thing going on that I'm not used to in rum at all. Like,
Well, there
not
is
the big
a little
heavy vanilla.
in some rums. In that Florida Cagna 25, there was a bit of vanilla.
Yeah. I mean, the aged one. Wow, that's polarizing. Okay, there's a little chocolate in the back of that.
Yes, there is.
What is going on there? Okay. Oh. And the retrohale is amazing.
Yes, sir.
Like there's like brown sugar and
Brown sugar, a little bit of cinnamon.
when I say brown sugar, I mean like the song, it's not just brown sugar, it's like the song. That's awesome.
Brown sugar.
Wow, it's got this super so a lot of liquors in general have a very minerally taste, especially in the aftertaste. This minerality in this is right up front in the palate. It's totally backwards. The vanilla and oiliness, man, it's oily. It coats the whole mouth.
I think this is one of the best rums.
Oaky.
It's one of the best rums I've tried in a long time.
There's a sharpness to the flavor. And in the weirdest way to describe it, like a sharp cheese has a sharpness to a flavor, but it's not cheesy. It doesn't taste cheesy, but has
there's a certain crispness.
There's a certain sharpness in the very center of the palate that really gets your attention, and the sharpness ramps up from the minerality, and then leaves you with that dark heavy like burnt caramel kind of thing going on.
Bitter chocolate.
Chocolate.
vibe.
I can't believe the chocolate in this thing.
Yeah. And definitely a dark, bitter chocolate.
Are you familiar with the retrohale? Take your sip of your. I'm talking to the producers now. Take a sip of the whiskey, the sip of the whiskey, the rum, and then take a super gentle breath out of your nose after you swallow. Just super gentle. You're going to pick up that brown sugar flavor is huge when you do that. Yeah, the retrohale, and anytime you have a liquor, the retrohale is a great way to taste some alternate flavors that you may not get normally.
I absolutely love this.
It's so delicious.
It's outstanding.
Yeah, the retrohale is like vanilla and brown sugar, and maybe even a little cinnamon in there, kind of thing. There's a lot going on in this.
It's very, very busy. I agree.
I love that
love it.
bright minerality right up front too. That is polarizing.
It's very, very,
So,
very,
Starr.
very delicious. Starr.
Oak aged.
So it's from Mauritius. Mauritius is an island off of Africa.
I see. There's a little map. Like, and then the treasure is like right there. Right, apparently. So,
apparently
distilled
we
bottle
found
on
the
the
treasure.
island of Mauritius. Mauritius.
Mauritius, I think.
Mauritius. That's so they have the pronunciation right there. Mauritius.
Okay.
Mauritius, Mauritius, a star of Africa. Starr, this is with two R's, is unique among the great rums of the world. Starr's unexpected flavor originates in Island's rich volcanic soil and reflects the vivacity. Oh, that's the brightness, that volcanic soil. That's what we get, like the Florida Cagna too. It has that kind of thing.
It has very much. Yeah.
The volcanic soil and reflects its rich vivacity of its African roots, handcrafted and aged to perfection in oak barrels for up to 7 years. Starr's rich full flavor features vanilla, caramel, nutmeg, cinnamon. Oh, nailed it on a cinnamon, didn't I? Starr's bold character possesses an unmistakable jeu de vivre captured here on our. I don't know if I said that right, but I did the best. Captured here in our exclusive bottle, custom made by the master craftsman of South Africa. Enjoy it neat over ice or in one of Star Oak aged rum's exquisite cocktails.
Just so good.
It's really
I can't even
good.
imagine putting that in a cocktail. It's just so good by itself. And, I would actually like to, in the following the ways of whiskey, I'd love to try it with an ice cube, too.
I would.
Just to see what that would do to it.
We need, you know what? We need to have an ice tray in your freezer in here. In the work freezer.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Gotta remember that.
This is
you
good.
get ice trays that make like the little tiny ice balls too.
This is good. By the way, $50.
Really?
Yeah.
I am blown away by this. This is stellar at $50.
Definitely the best rum we've had in a while. Maybe since some of the plantation rums or some of the Florida Cagna 25. So it's plantation rums.
Man, I love that.
But I'd love to get our friend Docs from Plantation. Love to get him to taste this. I'd love to
right in the
hear his
middle
take
of it
on
too. Right in the middle of that brightness, there's a little tiny bit of funk. Like it's way back there. After you taste it a few times, you kind of can parse it out.
Absolutely. It's good stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. We will be back with drinking news and more, including TenFidy, by the way. We will be tasting some Imperial Stout.
If drinking isn't cool anymore, does that mean drinking news is not cool anymore?
Drinking news was never cool. So that we don't have to worry about.
We're making it cool.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
And this freaking rum. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm so glad you like that because obviously I had tasted it. I couldn't
There's
couldn't
a little
hold myself
tobacco
back.
kind of flavor in it too. Like
Yes,
there's
there
a
is.
slight tobacconess to it.
Well, I couldn't hold back when I was, doing the public service of clearing the neck and the plastic from around the top of the bottle. I just thought, well, I'm here. I might as well.
Right.
And no, boy, I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic.
Agreed.
I'm glad you agree, my friend. I'm glad you agree. Well, the time has come, ladies and gentlemen. We can't put it off any longer, although we probably should. It's time for drinking news.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said, I had to take my gator to the vet. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome to Drinking News for show number 296. Here at Drinking News, we have always wondered exactly what doctors and pharmaceutical manufacturers were talking about on the instructions that come with some drugs. I understand that certain prescriptions may make you drowsy or even a little woozy or buzzed sometimes. So with those, it does make sense that the directions tell you not to drive after taking them, right? But the line that always kind of gets me is when they tell you not to operate heavy machinery. Like, who's taking a Xanax and then driving a dump truck or a road grader around town, right? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it seems a little far-fetched, but then again, I don't live in Florida.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
A homeless Florida man who may or may not have been under the influence of intoxicating medicines went joyriding on a piece of stolen construction equipment last week and caused more than $10,000 in damages, according to authorities.
Dang.
Deputies located 56-year-old Randy Lee Wieland in the process of operating a $60,000 JLG Lull, around 8 a.m.
Well,
on the sidewalk
that's
of
a
Ocean Shore
forklift, huh?
Boulevard in Beverly Beach.
Why do I know that? Oh my
According
God!
to the
How redneck
Flagler
am I?
County Sheriff's Office. Yeah, and I was just going to explain.
Why do I know that?
The JLG Lull is one of those monster machines for heavy lifting, like a really oversized forklift, basically. It's got the two huge prongs on the front that could lift a car off the ground or something with no problem. Sheriff Rick Staley said, this man decided to go on a joyride with a large piece of construction equipment, and he would have caused more damage if he were not stopped and apprehended by deputies. Which reminds me of, and I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Meddling kids. Did it start at an abandoned theme park or
Yes,
something?
It should have. It should have. Investigators determined that Whelan stole the heavy machinery from a construction site and drove it 2.5 miles to Beverly Beach.
Now, hold on a second. Let's talk about the word stolen, okay?
Okay.
Because it's likely that he may have borrowed without license.
Oh, yes.
But then the cops apprehended him and didn't give him a chance to bring it back, you see.
Mm-hmm. You're saying he was just a borrower.
It could be. You know, I'm just saying. We don't know all the facts.
Here's the problem. He drove it 2.5 miles to Beverly Beach. And along the way, deputies said he ran over 2 fire hydrants, a Charter Communications fiber node, several resident mailboxes, and literally broke a number of sections of the public sidewalk.
No.
Yeah. So that's why it wasn't just a borrow and bring back.
So he wasn't just
situation.
driving it down the road, so to speak.
Nope. He was driving it wherever he pleased. Staley described the vagrant driver as a, quote, career criminal, end quote, who apparently has 3 felony convictions in Pennsylvania and 8 other felony convictions elsewhere in Florida. Because, of course, he does.
Well,
For a homeless guy, though, Whelan seems to stay pretty busy. His convictions include criminal mischief, burglary, public drunkenness, grand theft auto, boating under the influence, battery on a law enforcement officer, impersonating a law enforcement officer. I am Officer Forklift. You will obey me. Battery on a person over 65. That's not good.
no, that's jacked up.
Exploitation of elderly for less than $20,000 and weapons charges, among others. Though that isn't even all of them.
This guy doesn't let a lot of grass grow under his feet, under his homeless feet.
Yeah, that's right.
My question is, okay, so he's homeless. How does he get boating?
Exactly. Yeah, how do you go?
How do you get
if you're homeless, how do you go
citation?
boating without a license? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, most people that have boats have homes. Some
Right.
people that have boats, the boat is their home.
Right, exactly. His home is apparently one of those shopping carts.
His home
from,
is wherever
Stop
he
and
makes
Shop.
it, my friend.
Well, he can now add grand theft, theft from a construction site, felony criminal mischief, and trespass on a construction site onto his resume, which, again, is pretty long considering he's not only homeless but unemployed. So he currently is being held in a Florida detention facility on a $12,500 bond.
So he's got 3 hots on a cot now.
Yeah, basically.
There you go.
I have never driven a
Or
JLG.
bologna sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah, with expired stale bologna.
The bologna sandwich is real.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know
I've
this.
never driven a JLG Lull, but I did drive a dump truck one time when I was a teenager. It's a true story. I had a summer job helping clean up a building that was under construction, mostly just sweeping and carrying out trash to the dump truck and wood and remnants and stuff like that. And one day the dump truck was full, and the foreman just tossed me the keys and told me to drive it to the dump and dump it. And
but that was exciting.
I was too embarrassed to tell him that I didn't know the first thing about operating a dump truck. So I got in it and drove it to the dump. And I'll tell you, I was terrified the whole time. I was absolutely petrified. I was stone cold sober, but I'd never driven anything larger than a Toyota Corolla at the time. And I was pretty sure I was going to wind up.
Jump.
I was pretty sure that I was going to wind up leaving a path of destruction in my
I mean,
wake.
you must have felt you were driving a tower, like a whole
Yeah.
building around.
Absolutely. It was the most like horrifying, frightening, and powerful feeling all at the same time, right? Ultimately, I did make it to the dump, and I actually figured out how to operate the dumping mechanism, which I was really proud of myself, because this was well before you could just whip out your phone and watch a YouTube video about how to operate a dump truck, right? I swear you can learn how to do pretty much anything on YouTube. Anyway, I thought that I was pretty badass after that, although I did wind up finding out that girls are not really all that impressed when I dropped the line, I know how to operate a dump truck. Yeah. It may work for some guys, but it didn't really work for me. So reporting live from Florida, where I've got my eye on a backhoe that might be fun to take for a little spin. I said backhoe. My name is Cruze, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. You know, one of the ongoing things about drinking news that I'm thinking is that we should hold like bets. Like if you've tuned into the show for a week, like is it going to be a week where there's a really good drinking news, or one that doesn't quite like live up to the because some are better than others.
Also, all the percentage of a Florida man starts.
Yes, I know.
I mean, it's
fairly high.
It's unusually high.
I wonder what the Vegas odds would
I'm
be.
pretty sure we had a man from London.
Yeah. Oh, we've had several.
We've had
Louisiana.
Louisiana. We've had Texas. We've had quite a few other things, but a Florida man seems to pop up more often
I'm telling
than
you,
most.
There's a reason that Florida man is the meme and the whole.
There's a
thing
whole
that it
website
is.
dedicated to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, it updates pretty often. Now, I'll go to those websites looking for stories for drinking news, and sometimes there's not really anything funny about it. It's like a Florida man did something really terrible, or whatever. Like, so I'm always looking for the humor whenever I can find it, and some weeks are just more humorous than others. And that's the way it goes. Hey, while you pour that, I want to tell you about Imperial. They are going green with their new Allegiance line. They previewed it at the PCA trade show in July, and now the blend and box are finalized, but samples back at the trade show only had white bands. Now the artwork is near completion, and the new design is green. The box is green, and the label, the band on it, is green. So similar to the pattern and motif found on the Pledge and Encore brands, both of which were cigars of the year. The Allegiance bands have a green color scheme and a secondary band which denotes the whole Allegiance line. The green came because of the association with nature and particularly tobacco leaves, they say. We even tried to get the green as close as we could to the tone of the tobacco in the fields.
Nice.
So, yeah, very cool. I mentioned that because I really like Imperial.
I got to tell you,
very awesome
there's
and successful
There's
company.
a few cigar brands out there that whatever they come out with, I will try because the brands are so good. EPC is 100% one of those brands.
100%, yeah.
Oskar Valdez, there's some of these guys that are just so good. Speaking of which,
so good,
Oskar Blues beer. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you know this, they also have a bicycle company.
Oskar Blues Bicycle Company?
It's called Reeb.
Reeb, okay.
Which, of course, is beer backwards.
I love that.
And they make outstanding bicycles. Now, we're not talking about bicycles like a couple $100 at Walmart bicycles.
Right.
These bicycles are starting in the multiple thousands range.
So they're really...
But they are fantastic.
Yeah, really kind of
like
custom
high-end.
Craft bicycles.
Yes, high-end bicycles. Fantastic. So definitely worth a look if you're into that sort of thing. Oskar Blues TenFidy. You know why it's called TenFidy?
Tell me.
Because it's 10.5%.
That's why. That makes sense.
It is no joke.
It's also really delicious. It's got a little bit of chocolate on the beginning.
Yeah,
and then there's a really dark black coffee.
If you
black
don't
coffee
like
in
chocolate and coffee, do not buy this beer. But it's also it sounds like that. It's got this really nice chocolatey sweetness right at the very beginning of it, and then it goes into that coffee bitter, and it flushes out a lot of that sweetness.
Yep.
So you don't end up with a sticky mouth kind of feel.
Absolutely.
Like it's not a
big,
overly sweet beer.
Yeah, it's not a big mouthfeel, and for TenFidy, in terms of its 10.5%, it doesn't come off real boozy either. I mean, you can tell that it's not a session IPA, but it's pretty drinkable.
I believe they think this beer speaks for itself because it just says Imperial Stout, 10.5%. That's it.
It's really good though.
Not a lot going on that.
You described it perfectly. It opens with chocolate, Then you get to the center, and there's this dark coffee, bitter dark coffee taste. And then when that recedes a little bit, you get a little of the chocolate back, but then it's all kind of settling into a balance.
My mom and my sister now is kind of taking the banner, but they make a mocha cake. And this has, because there's also a little of that kind of the crust, cake. What's the cake crust kind of, not pie crust, but like that stuff that's in a mocha cake.
Right.
The cakey part, I guess. There's a little bit of that kind of taste in there as well.
Well, it's really, really good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a very dark and rich kind of flavor without being
and it
too
comes
sweet.
in 12-ounce cans. Often
It comes in a 4-pack, yeah.
Yeah, often though when you get something this rich and detailed in a stout, you're expecting to see it only in larger cans or in bombers or something. And this comes in the 4-pack of deliciousness.
Yeah, Oskar Blues, they're just, man, they make so many good beers.
They really do.
Their porter is fantastic.
And obviously we've talked
Their
about
Scotch ale,
Dale's
Old
Pale
Chub.
Ale. Old Chub is great.
Old Chub is
Dale's Pale Ale, one of the all-time great pale ales.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about Dale's Pale Ale too is if you go it's ubiquitous enough too, because if you go to House of Blues here in Houston, you can pay $11 for or $12 for a Bud Light or a Miller Lite can. But then sitting next to it, and it's a couple dollars, like $13. It's like $2 more than the other ones, but is the giant can of Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah, that big old
Here's
mini
the deal.
keg.
Here's the deal. If you're already paying over $10 for one can of beer, you might as well pay the $2 extra and get Dale's Pale Ale because it's that much better.
What's your take on those enormous beers that they sell at some shows? And
I see why.
and stuff?
It's less people coming back to the bar.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's 2 beers. It's a 24-ounce can, so you're getting 2 beers instead of asking for 2 beers and then carrying 2 around.
But I would rather go back, and have the cans be shorter, because I like my beer cold.
Hey, counterpoint. So, I agree. Colder beer is good. However, do you really want to leave the show again and then go stand in that line again and everything else? And then if you buy a decent beer, Dale's Pale Ale or something along those lines, if they have a decent beer in a can like that, it still tastes good when it's warm. It's not cold. I get it. Cold beer is nice.
I like cold beer.
But at least it's not a Bud Light that tastes like, well, I think we both know where that one's going.
Yeah.
Once it gets warm, or if the mountains on the can stop turning blue,
you have a problem. Yeah,
you know what to do.
You
Run
we
away.
have a problem. Run away, run fast, run far.
Yeah. So
I agree with you. I
they
guess
need to come out with a Vortex can. Remember the Vortex bottle? They need to come out with a Vortex can.
A Vortex
to help
can.
it drink.
Would you put a bunch of little flues inside it or
I
something?
don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
I don't either, but it's okay.
You know what rocks?
It's show number
1050.
1050 absolutely rocks. And is there any left? Because I would like to rock a little more.
You
of
rock
that.
the 1050.
Yeah, I think I will. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back to wrap up the show. Thanks for the 1050. That's good stuff. And what a simple can, too. I think you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's just black with gold lettering, and it just has the Oskar Blues with the band around it. Doesn't say much.
I like it. I like it a lot. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toast. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is number 296 on this long journey we have been on.
Halfway to 333.
And looking forward to it every single time. So this has been quite a show because this is one of those shows where we have absolutely loved everything.
Everything, yeah.
We both loved our cigars.
Yeah.
Both gave our cigars really good reviews. And then we started with the Kemah Suprema, which we loved, the Fellowship Hazy IPA, the TenFidy, and then, of course, the Starr 7-year OK Drum. It's almost like we love everything. You know, we've been criticized for loving too much.
Well, and I'll go ahead and point out that generally speaking, we're buying the stuff that we're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't usually go to a liquor store and think
And
to
buy
myself,
something you think you're not.
man,
gonna-
what looks like it sucks? I
Yeah.
want to spend money on something that looks like it sucks
Yeah.
and bring it on the show.
I want to drop some, serious cash on the Conor McGregor whiskey just so we can say that it's awful. Yeah. Then what are we going to do with the
I'll
rest
tell
of
you
the
about
bottle?
my friend had some of that.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so I finally tasted it. I couldn't stop finding stuff wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like it just kept going.
How bad do you have to be at making whiskey to make a bad, not just not a great one, but a bad one?
Proper 12, buddy. It's not good.
Wow.
But anyway, there's so in that price range. There's so many better things. But
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even
That's
remember where I
what
was
mean.
going with it anymore.
Well, in any case, we've had a good run with today's tasting items on the show.
Yeah.
And I enjoy when that happens because I like tasting good stuff. That's what it's all about, right? So we recommend everything for today very much wholeheartedly, and we appreciate you guys coming in and being a part of the show with us. And no matter what they say in articles in the UK, drinking can still be cool if you do it responsibly, if you do it with your friends, if you do it in a way that it helps you to really enjoy life. That's what it's all about to me. Like savoring life is awesome because the older you get, the more you realize that even though you may not have as much money as you'd like to have, money's not what you're really short on. What you're really short on is time. Time is something that it's important to spend it in a way that will enrich your soul. Spend it with friends, spend it with loved ones, spend it in quiet, peaceful times. Try to get off the rat race treadmill if you can. Pour yourself something you really like to drink. Sit back, take it in, light a cigar, enjoy life. That's what it's all about, smoking and toasting. I don't know where that all came from, but it sounds really darn
That
good
was
to
beautiful,
me.
sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you guys for watching the show. Show number 296 is in the books, and we will be back as we continue to strive to hold on to our position in the top 4% of all podcasts in the
4%,
world.
baby.
Yeah. Woo! Top 4. We'll see you next week, my friends, and cheers, y'all.